The city of Sarasota is not responsible for any recording or live streaming of this negotiation session. Responsibility of the recording belongs to the individual recording, who should be contacted for contents which may be revised or edited. The city does not have and will not maintain a copy of any such recording. All right, so we received the proposal via email. We printed out, provided a copy that y'all just sent.
So you can now have our proposals for officers, sergeants, and lieutenants all on the same one.
Okay. All right.
So we shall wait for your return, and I gotta say it one more time. I don't think I've ever seen an occupation or profession on this planet that reduces the value of someone's compensation the more experienced they become in that profession, except for today, when you guys offered a flat 2,000 increase. So you obviously don't believe in my perspective, but I think that the world believes in my perspective. So we all can't be wrong.
Okay.
And I just think I guess when you become a lieutenant and a captain, you have less value, even though you have more responsibility and experience. That's just mind numbing to me. So thank you for the city of Sarasota and its affiliates for believing that law enforcement officers, the longer they walk the beat and protect the citizens of this city, the less value that they have monetarily.
Well, I appreciate your perspective. So we'll take this. Do you want to break for lunch? An hour, 15 minutes?
Sure.
All right.
And,
Thank you.
and before we do step out, just as a point of perspective, the numbers we provided don't reach parity with any of the competing departments. They don't. City of Sarasota still is going to be paid less than everybody else when you look at the major people you're fighting with to put boots on the ground. You're in direct competition with people that are going to be starting at 76,000 and 82,000. And I'm throwing round numbers because my brain doesn't math well. Versus our current proposal of $74,317. Couple that with, you've got two major departments that are increasing their size. 3.6% increase locally, 7 miles north, they're putting 22 new officers on the force. So you've got two places that are going to pay them more that are going to go start hiring as soon as these budgets are approved. So we're not pulling numbers. We're not picking numbers out of the air because 2,000 is a nice round number. We're picking a percentage, applying it with parity across the pay scale, because longevity and experience matters. You shouldn't get less of a raise just because we picked a number and stuck it in there.
Yeah, what was the reason for the 2,000 number? What is the justification of the number 2,000?
So, but even at the 3 to 2% sliding scale we've got now,
I don't think they're listening.
we're not approaching anything meaningful. So it's getting frustrating on our side when we have concrete comparators that are black and white, that are public record, that you can go on Google and look at the PowerPoints that all of the commissioners are looking at in 2 counties to say this is what we're going to pay our guys.
Well, I mean, again, we don't see counties as comparable to the city of Sarasota.
And there are 5, and I'll pull from the last impasse, the order that was written.
When he pulls that, what's the justification for the 2,000? How did you guys come up with that?
It's 2,000. I mean, again, it's an increase. We try to give you guys an increase.
Yeah, I know. That's the point. That's the question I'm asking. What was the justification for a flat 2,000, knowing that it gets less and less the more experience you have?
In the past, it has been indicated to us that you would like to do things like the sheriff's office, and in the past, the sheriff's office has done flat increases. So we went with that model. Again,
So
we
you're
don't
using the model that
we
you
don't
just
agree.
said
We
that
do not
doesn't
agree as a
count?
comparison. We do not agree it's a comparable.
All right.
However, we're trying to negotiate to get a deal done. If you don't want to do a flat increase, we'll go back to percentages. We can do that.
But wait a second, you're picking and
All
choosing
right,
when you want to use the sheriff's department.
let's go back to this.
No, look, I absolutely understand the comparables. We do not agree with the comparables. We have talked around a number of times about the comparables. You shared the information. We are trying to go back and forth with numbers. If we want to do the numbers and try and reach to a resolution, need to go back and forth on that. I understand the comparables. I understand your perspective. I absolutely understand your perspective.
And I'm going to tell you,
your numbers.
I'm going to tell you why why I disagree with you, but I'm going to back it up with what PERC and orders from impasse mediators have said. City of Sarasota versus PBA SM 2009-076.
Quite aware of that one.
So they said Florida statute section 447.405 requires that the special magistrate considers certain factors that should be given weight in making any recommendation to the parties. These factors fall into 5 categories: 2 types of annual income comparisons, the interest and welfare of the public, 8 various peculiarities of employment and availability of funds. All right, that's what we got. We got 5 things. Funds have not been raised as an issue. The peculiarities of the job, these folks do more than a sheriff does. They are tasked with more assignments. They have a bigger homeless population. All of the drug.
Hold on.
No,
Let
we've
him
talked
go.
round and
Let him go.
round.
Why
We've
can't you
talked-
talk? Why can't you
I
talk?
understand the factors.
Why can't you
I
talk? Why
understand
do
your
you have to interrupt?
perspective.
Why can't
Does
you
your
talk?
client?
Yes, they actually do. We
Let us
absolutely
finish our,
understand
I
perspective.
think
If
we
you
have the
wanna
right to finish our, go ahead, Brian,
If you
please.
want to keep on negotiating today, going back and forth with numbers, trying to reach a resolution, we're pushing towards that. We are absolutely pushing towards it. Or do you want to go through the factors which we are acquainted with, we have shared and talked about? Tell me.
I think
If
you
you
should
want
be
me to
able to finish
listen,
your statement.
okay, finish your statement.
And the only thing that I get back from this side is, well, the size is different. Size is 1 of 5. Public interest is probably in this profession more important. When we're up from 0 homicides to 5 homicides from last year to this year in zones that are uncovered, that's a pretty big public interest argument. And it's going to be a pretty easy sell if we can't get some motion on the numbers. And honestly, the motion we're getting right now is, it started at insulting. I mean, I think we're off of insulting, but we're still not to meaningful. So just sharpen your pencils.
If I could just have the floor for a moment. As long as I can think back, my mom ingrained in my mouth, one with a bar of soap and another trying to model or mentor to me. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. I'm going to employ that and hold my personal feelings back. The other thing, when we started this negotiations of the 3-year contract 2.5 years ago, we harped on and we held fast with what's good for one is good for all. That is why moving forward, my request to you would be, we worked hard to get the percentages even so that if you were here for 1 year or you were here for 20 years, you had the same compensation raise. So moving forward, please keep those numbers in that category with the percentages. I think we worked very hard to get that to that point, and I don't want to go backwards or regress on that. The other thing is, with that same topic, the folks that we're responding on calls with, everyone in this room, whether it's an investigation for a battery, trying to outreach a homeless person, or responding to a shooting, is we are seeing and we are working with the Sarasota County Sheriff's Office more than anyone else. And that is why, again, the numbers that we're offering, the justification is we just want to be treated the same as those folks that are doing the same job, and we all want to be treated fairly. So again, that's why it's important for the percentages, and that's why we keep harping on the sheriff's office. Those are the folks that we're seeing on the streets that our cruisers are passing their cruisers every single day. So I know it's probably not going to move your position at all, but that is where I stand, and that is where this executive board from the 60-45 stands on why we are pushing the numbers we are pushing and why we want that percentage to be the same for each officer, each member, whether it's crime scene officers or sergeants. Okay.
Thank you.
And I did look at most of the published decisions from PERC, and I found 3 where the mediator said one factor was more important than any of the others. Out of all the ones I looked at, and I looked at a bunch, I could only find 3 where they said this is the important factor. One of them was a school district that said public interest was the most important, and that he didn't make that up. He said, I'm bringing that from what you guys are telling me. So to look at a single factor is myopic, and it's different than, my opinion, it's different than what's gonna happen if this goes in front of a third.
All right, so I have a question. We have a question about the proposals for each of the step. When are you proposing the step increase becomes effective?
When do people move on their step?
First pay period of that year. Everyone moves together.
So let's say we
October
got
2.
October 2, so it'd be the beginning of the year. So
Yes.
it's not anniversary day, it would be the beginning of the year.
Correct.
Okay.
I think, again, the purpose and the reasoning for that is everyone's treated the same. Just because we're on the same step, but he was hired in January and I was hired in August, doesn't mean he should be valued more or compensated more than me. We're trying to stick with that. I understand people get hired at different times of the year, but as far as everyone being treated equally and fairly, which is what I'm gonna sit here and
Cost of living. for
Keep
everyone
trying to
goes up at
do-
The same time.
over and over again, is that's why that's important to us. Again, I get people are hired at different times, but other than that initial step one, that's why that's important for us.
So to be clear, what we're saying is, as of October 2, everyone will get a step increase, which is a 3% pay raise, right? Plus the addition percentage, I haven't calculated, like, what is this?
Steps to be anniversary, wouldn't it?
You're proposing.
They proposed, it used to always be anniversary date. When we worked hard to do that spread equally at 3%, in order for it to quote unquote be fair, it was moved to that first pay period of the year.
That's what
So,
we negotiated, yes.
correct. And
And that's what you're proposing.
we would propose that we keep that, yes.
Because we had proposed that it would be on an anniversary date, so you're countering that with a beginning of the fiscal year, or whenever it's ratified, or fiscal
You'll
year.
move your next step
Okay.
at the beginning of this fiscal year.
So
So it's pay schedule moves and then another step. That's what you're saying, correct? A general wage
pay
increase and then
schedule-
a step.
They're really not two separate things, though. It's,
Yeah, there.
the general wage is built into the steps, is what we're negotiating, right? Because technically,
Yeah,
if this is
no.
out of there, we still have to move our steps. You can't take that away unless you negotiate to take that away.
Well, you're asking to move it up, so that is an increase, moving the time when it would.
We're not moving it up. That was agreed upon last year. We're
For
continuing
that,
what we've
last
done.
year, for last year.
But we're not asking to move two steps at,
No,
No.
you're asking to move the wage schedule by whatever percent this is. I'm not totally sure. I don't know what this is. Do you guys know?
yeah, it's 9%
Okay.
for officers and
So you
sergeants and
move
19 for
9% and then you move 3.
But you don't, no, it's a total of 9%. You would next year,
For purpose of the budget, we budget, it's not just a 9% increase. It's a 9% times a 3% increase. We have to budget it. There's a compounding effect.
Only for the,
So are you
Uh,
saying you're really moving the schedule 7? And then your step makes up the rest?
Brian, can you?
I'm looking at the language on it, one sec.
the only thing you would do is go the next step.
But that's if your wage scale moves though. You're moving your wage scale by a general wage increase
Plus a step
plus the
increase.
step increase at the beginning of the year. That's what your proposal is saying. So it's 2 wage increases at the beginning of the fiscal year.
So not only do you want us to be behind the other competing agencies as far as our base pay, but now you also want to give up something that the other
We're not.
agencies have?
We want you to understand, we're trying to explain to you for purposes of our budgeting.
For purposes of common sense.
When we look
answer
at
this
it-
No, but
question.
just
Do
when
the
we
other
look-
agencies
Just the
have a
wages.
wage scale increase year per year?
If-
All of your
You-
comparatives.
That's a negotiable. That is something that's negotiated.
Okay, correct.
Right?
So
Okay.
is us being paid $1 is negotiable. But I'm asking comparatively, do the other agencies, every single one that you've quoted, have a step increase year per year?
Not every
Here's the
agency.
short answer, yes. That's what we're proposing.
So
Okay.
we're
Okay.
asking
All
to
right.
stay competitive.
Schedule, and then the
And
raise
get a
at the
raise.
beginning
Would
of
it-
the fiscal year.
If.
Yes.
Is-
They understand. They- hey, stop. They
Hold on,
understand.
I'm asking for clarification on something. if there's 3% in between every step already, right?
Yes.
If we're proposing a 9, wouldn't it be a 6% general that we're asking for and then the 3% that's built in?
You're asking for a 9% increase multiplied by a 3% increase, which is 1.2 something. You multiply it together, which we're not saying, we are not opposed to having step increases. We're not opposed to having a wage increase, but it's not just a 9%. You're not subtracting out the step increase from that 9%. You're multiplying them together for our purposes.
Just like the
Yeah.
sheriff says.
We're asking the
Yeah,
state
but as of
competitive with the other
As of
agencies,
October
just
2nd.
as we go out
No,
with
we're
the
just-
gun, just as we go out with a
just
cruiser,
clarifying.
a taser and pepper spray. Yes.
Just
We're
clarifying.
asking to stay comparative to the other agencies. We have no further comment on this. That's our
Okay.
proposal.
All right.
All right, just wanted to make sure.
What do we want?
Last time to be confused.
What time are we reconvening?
So back here at 1:30?
1:30. Yeah.
Okay.
1:30? All right.
Yep.
Yeah, 1:30. Will you all have